What's the secret to selling to mid market businesses, and why should you focus on this category? Let's talk about it in this episode of Closing Time. Thanks for tuning into Closing Time, the show for go to market leaders. I'm Val Riley from the marketing team at Insightly CRM, and today I'm joined by Steve Oriola, CEO of Unbounce, a landing page builder company that recently acquired Insightly CRM. So, yes, Steve is my new boss. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's get you introduced to the Closing Time audience. You're the CEO over two brands in the MarTech space right now, but that category isn't new to you.
No, it's not. I've been in the MarTech category for SaaS for about 23 years. So, yeah, a fair bit of time. It began with my joining Constant Contact, very early. I think I was the 25th employee or something like that, and was there for 10 years. I've also been at Pipedrive, which a lot of folks may know. So, yeah, I've got a fair bit of experience and a pretty wide range.
So you're familiar with the CRM space and how competitive it is. Last count, I saw there are more than 1,700 CRMs on the market. So what was appealing about jumping back into that space, Steve?
Sure. What was really appealing was the combination of the two brands and the two platforms, less than excitement to jump into a very competitive space. Insightly is a pretty comprehensive CRM, and that was important to me as me and our investors made that decision. And Insightly focuses on the sales use case from a go-to-market perspective, but the product they've built covers marketing and services as well. And Unbounce, we know the marketer, right? That's our buyer, and we understand those use cases. And we've built a very, very robust landing page solution that includes experimentation and optimization capabilities. So it's a pretty powerful tool. And we also, under our tent, have an attribution solution. So we looked at the marketing automation platform that Insightly has, and we got very excited. And the industry certainly has moved to more comprehensive solutions in CRM. Some would call them all in one. And as well, I think everyone's realizing that from a technology perspective, you can't treat sales and marketing as silos because you know healthy modern companies that are progressing are breaking down those silos, and we feel like we can help accelerate that and support that. So that's the strategic synergy that jumped out at me several months ago when we started this journey, and that's what we're excited about.
Yeah, let's dig a little deeper there because I think there is significant overlap in the verticals, in the mid-market focus,
Mhm.
geographically. How do
Mhm.
you see those synergies becoming an advantage?
Sure. Unbounce as well has been focused on the mid market, as Insightly is. Unbounce operates a bit more globally than Insightly, yet Insightly has prepared to operate globally at the product level, probably more than Unbounce. Brands are learning from each other in that regard. We have an office in Europe. We're capable of going to market in Europe. Insightly is a localized solution for most of Europe. So those overlaps, as we looked more deeply, were pretty synergistic, to be honest. We're a global company now, and we're one company, and we have a global solution that we're going to market with.
I think another interesting point, Steve, is how both companies really had an alignment on values out of the gate. How
Mm.
do you see that as an advantage moving forward?
Yeah, the cultures felt pretty similar and not identical. They never are, but the integration is not that painful because at the values level, which is really important, that's really sort of lubricated the whole deal and the integration. And we're very focused on velocity. of planning, decision making, and execution, and everyone's aligning to that pretty easily.
I will say I can validate that from the inside. We are very focused on velocity, so it's an exciting time, I
Yep.
think, to be at the company. So both of these organizations were previously selling to the mid market, and as a combined organization, we are the mid market. So let's talk a little bit about that category and what you feel maybe makes it a sweet spot.
The way I think about it is, I've got a lot of experience in mid market and small business, and some experience with enterprise. And for me, it's about the user and the buyer, and it's it small business go to market and cracking that nut is not easy. The part that's a little simpler is that the buyer and the user are almost always the same person. And as you go up market, those tend to start to separate. I would say they probably start at the mid market, 50, 100 people. The buying decision and the user can be different. You get to enterprise and they're very different. And the requirements for the purchase don't always accommodate the user. And I've just found myself very uncomfortable at that level, where you're selling to someone and the criteria to get the deal done aren't really the criteria to keep the user happy. Now that's certainly changed over the last 10 to 15 years, where, and especially as new generations of workers come into big corporate environments, they just have certain expectations that IT kind of needs to meet. But there's still that separation. And that's the big difference for me is it's appealing to go to the mid-market for a company like ours because you end up in a situation where there's more opportunity to expand that account. There's more things to sell to them, and they're stickier. They stay around longer. They're more loyal. Small businesses tend to be, a bit transient, to put it mildly, and small businesses fail at, some rate. I think the failure rate for small business in the U.S. is somewhere around 2% a month. So your churn rate sort of starts there. That's zero. And it's just different when you're in the mid market. So we find that appealing. We're excited about our mid market customers. They're loyal, they're happy, and we can find more ways to add value.
One thing I especially like about the mid-market is kind of echoing what you were saying about the buying process is the buying committees, they're there, but they tend to be more reasonable in size. And
Mhm.
a sales cycle tends to be more reasonable versus the enterprise as well.
Yeah, the and that's true as well. I'm not averse to enterprise selling and enterprise focus. You just have to build your business around the economics of a sales cycle that can be 6 months, can be 2 years, and you have to have a certain type of sales team and compensation plans, and it's just a different business. It's not better or worse. It's just different. So you have to design for it. We're really focused on the mid-market.
Yeah. So the mid-market's the middle child, right? But there's a lot to be said for that middle child. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Yep. Yep, that's right.
So let's talk to a salesperson because that's the typical type of person that listens to closing time. What advice would you have for a salesperson that's selling to the mid market?
They're discerning buyers, and they do have buying committees. It's not as complex as enterprise, and they more than small business. They're looking for the solution for them, right? And they're very focused on understanding their vertical, their industry, their business. So if you're not a vertical solution, you at least need to articulate or build messaging and build your pitch as a salesperson to really clarify that understanding of their business. It does benefit you as a salesperson to be working in maybe several lanes, maybe not one. Certainly one is ideal, but if your company isn't vertical, if it's horizontal, you can be a horizontal solution and still accommodate certain industries. You need marketing support to do it, no doubt. So make sure you have that, but learn the industries. And it might be three, it might be five, it might be eight or 10. I wouldn't recommend more than that as certainly as a salesperson, but understand the industries you're selling into, so that you can speak in their language. And that really is almost a requirement of the mid-market.
So, in thinking about the conversation that a salesperson has with a small business buyer and an enterprise buyer, how is the conversation different when you're talking to a mid market buyer?
Sure. Small business is going to be, just because of the economics of it, for your company in going to market, for small businesses, you're going to have, it's going to be lighter touch. It's going to be less time, less involvement, and you might be on the clock. You might be directed as a salesperson in an environment like that to not spend more than 15 minutes or more than a half hour. You might be trying to talk to 20 or 30 people a day. When you get to the mid market, the economics change, right? The lifetime value that you're selling, that is the opportunity there, is greater, so you can invest more in the sales process. You can spend more time. The range of things that you'll be talking about are greater. There are buying criteria that have nothing to do with the product and the product experience. It might be SOC 2 compliance. So they may be, very sensitive to regulatory issues, especially depending on the industry they're in. So you need to understand that. You also need to understand, their process. They're all going to have a different process around buying. And so there's all these buying criteria that are way beyond product, and you need to understand that. Depending on the business, and what sort of profitability targets they have, you might build a small team, for that sales process at the mid market. Certainly at enterprise, you're going to have a range of people with a range of expertise supporting you in that sales cycle. But even at mid market, you may need technical account help. You may need, your in-house counsel, to weigh in on contracts. There's just a broader range of things to consider and to deal with, and we see that because we both brands have been serving both small business and mid market, and it's just a very different set of activities.
Great stuff, Steve. So, starting today, these two companies are one. What can customers of Unbounce expect, and what can customers of Insightly expect with this merger?
You can expect a broad integrated solution, not tomorrow, but certainly not a year from now. And it will happen, in increments, and it will accelerate as we do this. You can expect to see more artificial intelligence and machine learning application to the CRM. That is sort of the bailiwick of the Unbounce brand. We have a large team that does that, and that's how the landing page solution has become much more than a landing page solution. It's really become an experimentation platform, and that's through good application of uh, machine learning. We as well, on the Unbounce brand, were early to generative AI, and we were honestly attempting generative AI. Not attempting, we built some generative AI solutions before ChatGPT came on the scene and blew up and all of that. So you can expect to see that in the CRM, fairly soon. And you can expect to see a bigger investment in the marketing automation platform, because you know the Unbounce folks understand that buyer, understand those use cases very, very well. So you'll see the platform become more comprehensive. The combined org Unbounce will still be in the independent landing page space. That's a very healthy business for us, but you'll see a much more combined solution, um, with CRM being the entry point for that business. So that's what you'll see.
Well, I can tell you from the inside that folks on both brands are really excited about the future. Steve, thank you so much for joining us on Closing Time.
Great. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for tuning into Closing Time. Remember, you want to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that button for notifications so you don't miss an episode. We will see you next week.